hello. Good evening. Let's make sure all is well here with our... Yep. Okay, great. A little nervous because I just had this little breakdown. One of my little devices stopped working right before the show because, of course, that's how it would have to be. That's life, man. There we are, live. All right, live from Denver. It is Friday night. Welcome to Critical Conversations, the show where we get to talk to you, you get to talk to us. We being me and my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello, hello.
Always joining me with wonderful goodness and cheer and happiness and joy. I was joking before the show that the truth of the matter is that you all tune in to see her, and you just put up with me. I'm just the guy who gabs on the mic the whole time, but she's really the reason, the thing to watch there. Oh, you know what though? We're gonna have a little bit. I think I might still be able to do it. I was because of the breakdown here. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to play around with the 7cam a little, but I think we still can access it. So let us check in on our little man here. Let's see. There he is.
There he is.
Okay, good. So that's working. And that's our little Ben. Oh, our little...
He's eating some catnip.
Yeah, we bribed him a little bit tonight. Because we found him hiding under the bed, of course, and in the bedroom, and then we have to entice him out and get him to be on camera. So there he is. So we'll see what kind of shenanigans he gets up to tonight. But there he is, our little boy. So, happy Friday, everybody. December 4th, 2020. We are now in the last month of 2020. And the end is near.
Yes.
The end is in sight.
Of this crazy, crazy year.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, my God. It's... you guys, I love the recurring community fandom here in the comment section. You guys are awesome. Boy, lots to talk about. Hey, everybody. All the usual suspects are here. This is great. Okay, so we got a lot of things to talk about tonight. I made a whole little list of stuff to go over with you guys, not in any real particular important sequence of events or anything. We've sort of themed the show this week similar to last week, where we were sort of talking about things we were thankful for. Call-in line, by the way, 984-214-4154, if you want to call in and speak with us. But similar to last week, where we were talking about things that we were thankful for, this week we're talking about things that reasons that we have to maybe have some good hope or faith in the future, or reason to carry on. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think we could use that.
Yeah.
We have our moments.
Yes. I think we all do, where we get down and we're like, it's all over.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And we will get to that, but let us first answer this question from Scientology, because it's a great one. How was school this week? Were you a good student, Chris? I was. I'm actually becoming a better university student now. Anxiety levels reducing greatly, but I'm actually going into now, this next week will start the beginning of me actually getting, knuckle cracking, get to work, start writing. Because my grade for this term depends utterly on the final essay that I'll be turning in for the coercive control module, this one being the Itology and Psychology of Coercive Control. And Itology is just a fancy word for the causes or reasons things start or form up. And so the Itology and Psychology of Coercive Control is the first module, first class that I'm taking for the first term. There are 3 terms in this year, I'll remind you all. So this one is due second week of January. I think I have to get this essay in, and I also have to turn in a research proposal. So I got to get to work on those things, and so we've done a lot of lecturing. I've had like 11 or so weeks of lectures every week on various different aspects of this. And in fact, I found out something that you all might find interesting. I sure did. I was talking to my professor this week, Dr. Rod Dubrow Marshall is his name. Great guy. He's the program director for this class. Him and his wife, Linda, both co-designed and run this program. And he let me know, or he said that this is the first graduate program ever put together anywhere that combines the domains of domestic violence or interpersonal partner violence, IPV or DV, combines that domain with cults, gangs, those kind of activities, and the domain of terrorism and radicalization. Online, offline, the ways that is done. Coercive control exists across all those domains. Everybody's known this. We've talked about this for years. In each of those separate domains, the professionals who get involved in those fields talk about control, manipulation, abuse. They have all the terminology, but it's not a common terminology between the domains. And in fact, some of the terrorist people, the folks who study that or deal with that, detection and prevention of radicalization and stuff like that, are well aware of cult techniques. It's not like these things it's not like they don't know about these things, but it's never been studied under one umbrella of coercive control across all the domains. So that was kind of interesting to me. I've, of course, known about for years that this is a best studied through a multidisciplinary, sort of umbrella approach, because we're, as far as I'm concerned, how I've thought about it up until now is that, you guys, is that all these things are made up of, there's a common denominator to all of these activities, and that is people. We're the same
Yep.
across all of these things. We act, react, manipulate, abuse for very similar reasons. And the leadership, cult leaders, narcissists and abusive narcissistic relationships, spousal abusers, child abusers, and terrorists are all reflections of the same things, of the same techniques, the same manipulations. It's really just a matter of contextualizing a belief that you can align all of these manipulations to, or a cause or reason, like a relationship, right? A relationship is something you fight for, die for, live for, invest a lot into, in the same way we do with groups. And cults and terrorist organizations are very similar in not just structure, but recruitment methodology, retention techniques. Of course, with gangs and terrorists, you have guns involved and real death. I mean, Scientology's bad, but they're not going to murder you if you walk out the door. They're just, if you start criticizing them, they'll have things to say about you in a public forum and that you won't like to hear, but they're not going to come kill you. And in these other groups, they will. There's not even a question about that. Anything from the IRA to ISIS or ISIL or, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So many of these groups. So we've kind of done a big, broad survey of all this stuff over this term, and it has been fascinating for me. Absolutely fascinating. And I've been sharing stuff with Melissa as I go. But unfortunately, of course, she's usually working when I'm studying. So I'm going out going, did you know? Blah, blah, blah.
I'm trying to work.
Yeah. Hello. So I save it up and share it with all of y'all at the same time. But it's fascinating stuff. It is very disturbing stuff. To be really honest, some of this stuff is not fun to learn about, but it is. But getting to the what's the psychology of it, the thinking, the manipulation techniques, the influence, the continuum of influence or spectrum of influence, these things are fascinating to me. I really love, as you guys know, thinking about thinking. Really into that kind of stuff. So I'm a doomsday domestic abuser. You guys. Oh, yeah. So, so this is, anyway, you guys are tracking. And yeah, very eye-opening things. Learning, for example, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, learning about MEK, which was an Iranian revolutionary group that became not only a terrorist organization, but its own cult. Full on. You know, the members had to divorce their wives, leave their kids, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, eat a certain way. This is a terrorist organization, and yet it's acting exactly like a rigid cult control system. So that was interesting and very eye-opening. I have related these things in my mind, but this is giving me the opportunity to actually see real-world examples of how this plays out. And that's been quite an education. So Christmas break, kind of, in that we are not going to have any more, and we're not going to have any more lectures for the rest of the term. Now it's time to buckle down and actually get the research and essays work done. So that'll be where I'm putting my time now. So yeah, we will definitely not be having any lectures or anything like that over Christmas or New Year's.
That's good.
Yeah, not till end of January, I think, is when the second term starts.
Oh, wow.
So
you got a little bit of time.
A little bit of time, yeah, a little bit of time. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be getting into, by the way, in future weeks. I don't have all the terms and modules or classes all laid out, but the third term is our dissertation work. So that's where I'll be working just flat out on that stuff. But the second term is going to be about cult anatomy and I think recovery, and probably retention techniques, stuff like that, how cults actually operate and in the real world, including online stuff. And we'll be getting into social media and stuff like that too. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rod and Linda have put together on that, because I brought the Social Dilemma documentary to their attention, and I was like I said, look, this is the future of our field. We really have to understand what the digital frontier is doing to us.
QAnon.
Well, exactly. Flat Earth, you know, the rise of conspiracy theories. These are, it's not a coincidence that this stuff is in your face a lot more now, because we've had 20 years of social media. These two things are connected at the hip. And if we don't recognize that, then we're going to be looking for wrong, or not looking at the complete picture of how and why people fall for this stuff. People get stuck in it and have negative, you know, consequences as a result of it. If we don't understand, you know, I'm convinced, this is me talking, just my own personal opinion about this, but I really believe that if we do not get a grip on what social media is doing to us, what Google has been doing to us through all these years of manipulation of our senses and perceptions, and therefore our thinking, if we don't get a grip on that fast and get that under control, then we're going to continue to have the turmoil, division, and upset that we've been experiencing. So thank you, M. Greenwood, for that. Oh, absolutely. Okay, this great question. Do you have any advice for someone who has turned from former beliefs but now feels like life is meaningless? Yes, I do. I don't know your situation, though, so all I can do is talk about things from my own context and from how I understand others in a general sense, like, you know, living with Melissa, talking with other former cult members and stuff. But yeah, Stuart, it's a great point. We get to choose what is important to us in life. That's actually kind of the key to my answer. So good timing there, Stuart, because that's exactly it. Is you have a former belief system. Okay, good. So you have eschewed that, given that up, rejected it for whatever reason. You don't have to be in a hurry to find another belief system.
Right.
There's no rush here, right? In fact, cult hopping or group jumping, or there's other terminology for that. But it's not, you know, we do that to ourselves. We put that on ourselves. And yeah, what if everything that was important went away when your beliefs did? Yeah. See, the thing about what's important to you is that it's your decision, and you can make that decision or recreate those decisions anytime you want. Now, I know the physical conditions of that change, and you lose connections, for example, you lose family, friends, stuff like that. That's tougher. But the belief set is also tough. You know, how I can relate to this, and I hope this is somewhat useful, is from how I lost the certainty that I felt so sure I had all the answers.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really hard. Now, I want to get this across. I would have had a hard time hearing this in the first year that I got out of Scientology. I was in Scientology for 28 years, whatever it was. 25 as working for the church. Long time, a lot of beliefs, a lot of really, heavily motivated to believe in what Scientology had to teach or offer. And so when I gave that up or realized it was all based on false, bullshit and lies, that left me adrift, very much so adrift. And the first year that I was out of that, I didn't think there was any hope, that it was gonna change easily. Let me put it that way. On the other hand, though, and this is the weird contradictory part of my existence, is that I also thought I'd be over all this in a year.
Yeah.
So it was really weird.
Doesn't work that way.
No, it was a weird headspace to be in.
It
was
takes time. Yeah.
Alternating hopelessness and hopefulness, positivity, negativity, almost hour by hour sometimes. And it took time. That's what I think you probably, what people, I don't know, you want to hear this particularly, but it does take a little bit of time to make the adjustment, to acclimate to not having that belief set and moving into realizing that you have a power of choice now to decide what you want to believe. You can pick and choose. Really, in terms of belief, it's a bit of a smorgasbord ahead of you right now. You got a whole, bunch of bins of stuff you can go into and look at. I can't recommend enough reading a book by Carl Sagan called The Demon Haunted World. That's what set me on the path of critical thinking and put my feet back on the ground and gave me some solid footing. It's not a Bible. It's not a belief set. It's not a book that's going to tell you what to think. It's a book about how to think through problems or solve things or figure things out and how not to fall for more bullshit. Or baloney, as Carl Sagan much more politely puts it in his book. Okay. So how are we doing on the comments? I haven't been keeping track while we've been going here.
I'm talking a little bit about some conspiracy theories.
All right. Sure, Scientology is the only thing that can help me fall asleep on bad nights. So thanks for that. Hey, you're welcome, M. Greenwood. And, if you want to email me, feel free. I'm more than happy to listen to, what your experience has been. And if I can offer any more specific advice that way, then I'm happy to do so. People write me all the time about stuff. So don't hesitate, but I'm glad I could help. And you are going to get through it. Just like you said, you will. It's not easy. It's not fun. It is, it's a difficult process, but you will get through it. And I'm glad that my work is helping you. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, exactly. See, like Xenu says here, I hope that we can use social media to bring light and truth to more people. I want to promote critical thinking skills. That's the positive side of social media. I really got to take great pains to make sure I say that I'm not anti-social media. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want Facebook, to burn to the ground. Well, Facebook actually could burn to the ground. I'd be okay with that. But I'm not trying to move backwards. I'm not a deconstructionist. I'm not a,
you're not trying to destroy everything.
Yeah, not a deep conservative. Let's go back to the Stone Age and, when things were great back in the
For who exactly, I'm not sure, but.
When men were men and women were nervous.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's see. I want to, again, remind everybody, 984-214-4154 is our call-in number. You can call and chat with us. If you have anything you would like to say about the theme of the show, of course, Reasons for Hope. These days, we do have quite a few of them. I'm going to share some with you in a moment. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to share with the uni-study stuff that I thought you guys might find interesting. Alexandra Stein was actually our guest lecturer last week, and she was on my podcast a couple of years ago. She's an anti-cult, not activist. She's actually, I think, a psychologist. And she had a lot to say about attachment theory. and actually presented her whole kind of theory on that and how attachment works in cults and with cult relationships, and how how you kind of create this push-pull sort of dynamic, because when it's a loved one or an authority figure that you respect, admire, and want to be around, and yet they're abusing you, it really sets up some very odd behavior in human beings because of the contradictory nature of the relationship. You love this person. They sometimes feed you opportunities for hope and love and acceptance. And while they're giving you that intermittently, they're abusing you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is either a partner or a spouse or a parent or a boss or a cult leader, and it sets up this very, very odd dynamic.
Very confusing.
Very confusing. Yeah. So we learned about some of that too. Yeah. Okay. Loving Jesus asks, how do you think critically regarding all the conflicting COVID reporting? There's so much. Yes, I agree. And that's why I don't actually go. At the very beginning of this whole thing, I said, go to authoritative scientific sources for your information about the disease itself and how to fight it. And if you guys have been frustrated over these months at the changing guidelines and ideas about how to deal with it, please recognize that that science is a live activity, and a virus and figuring out a virus is
it's new. They don't know everything about it.
Exactly. It is new. It's a new virus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a family of viruses that they understand somewhat, but it's a new thing. So science is not about giving you a final in stone answer that's going to last forever, right? So it's about answers that are going to change as we go. So I just want to set that up first as that's okay. It's not weird that happens. But if you stick with the, like I said, the sort of authoritative scientific sources, which is not CNN, MSNBC, or Fox. It's just not. And unfortunately, it hasn't been our White House. Some of our governors have been doing okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been using our governor as a source of information, our local news, and the CDC, the WHO, NIH. I mean, we've been using those kind of sources for where I've been getting information that I believe about COVID. I've never taken anything that cable news or mass media has said about COVID with anything other than a grain of salt along the way, So, peer-reviewed is solid research. That's as good as you're going to get, especially when it comes to the studies and stuff. That's exactly it. Peer-reviewed articles, that sort of thing. That's exactly right. I'm not going to say only go to academia, because that can be difficult to read for sure. But naturescience.com, these sources tend to be a little bit more on the ball scientifically, and they tend to have authors who understand the scientific process and are not trying to just engage in clickbait. So that's why I eschew sort of the mass media clickbaity stuff.
Right.
Is for that reason. And that's why I don't go to people's personal blogs. I sure as hell don't go to WebMD. The one thing about WebMD is all roads lead to cancer. So, so we don't want any of that. So that's what I could say about that. I hope that was helpful. I only get my COVID info from Alex Jones. Well, that's consistent with the rest of your comments, Bee's Nest. So that actually makes complete sense to me. Quackbait. There we go. Oh, I like that. I like that expression, quackbait. I'm going to keep that one. Ooh, that's good. I'm stealing that. Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing this up, Scientology. I was going to put this under reasons for hope, actually. So let's get to that.
Yeah.
Let us check in with the little one first, though, of our four-legged friend. Let me see if I can pull up his... Yep, there he is. All right. So it looks like he's maybe nipped out a little bit. Now he's just kind of chilling.
Oh, a little yawn or something.
Yeah. It's kind of exactly how we look after the show.
I know, right? Derp.
We just sort of,
Can't figure out where he is. He's all stoned.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like 7 owners, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely letting the hair down here. So yeah, the House has approved legislation that would decriminalize marijuana and the injustices caused by the war on drugs. Even though it's unlikely to pass the Senate, do you think it's a good step forward? I think it's an amazing step forward. Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Now you say your thoughts on this, and then I will maybe give mine.
I think it's a great step forward, and I don't know. I mean, it's gonna go to the Senate. The Senate, there's a good chance they're probably gonna shut it down, but maybe they won't. Who knows? But it is definitely a good step forward. It means they're thinking about it. They're listening to the people. I mean, so many people in this country just want it decriminalized or legalized because it's ridiculous that it's a Schedule I narcotic. I mean, even if they could agree with the Senate to take it off the Schedule I list would be great. Because are you kidding me? Marijuana is supposed to be the same as heroin and meth? Get out of here. Anyone that smoked marijuana knows the truth.
That's right. That's exactly right. I actually wonder whether it. Okay, this is a joke, okay, but I have wondered if they haven't purposefully kept it illegal because they know that the actual solution to peace on Earth is everybody getting high. I mean, I actually do believe, though, that joking aside, I do believe that it would impact the big military industrial complex if pot were fully legalized and a lot of people were
if it was legalized everywhere.
Token. I think things would be
I
think it would be a very different world because yes, the war on drugs has been awful. It has been a complete disaster. If there has ever been a time to wave the white flag and say, okay, we really screwed this up.
Well, we just basically created a cartel country in Mexico with the war on drugs. And if we never had the war on drugs, that wouldn't be like that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we know the factors, we know the history of it. This has been documented. There is racism involved in this. In fact, quite a bit when it comes to cannabis legalization or illegalization. I mean, even the terminology for it, comes out of, a racist type push.
Yeah.
And I'm not big on, everything's racist. But in this case, it's got a real history of that. Mm-hmm. There is real racial motivation behind the suppression of, distribution of some of these substances.
Well, and there's huge racism and who gets in trouble for it too.
Yeah, big time. Big time. We definitely have a selective prosecution problem when it comes to this and a punishment problem. Mm-hmm. But like that said, those are all the problems with the war on drugs. It is good for mental issues, as Donna says here. And the alcohol industry funds anti-weed sentiment. That does not surprise. I would not doubt that for a second. Not for a second.
Competition.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But it is, pot saved me from a life of crime when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Here's my big excitement about this, is I expected to see this headline about the House passing legislation for marijuana. I expected to see this headline about 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I am blown away by how fast this is happening because it's pretty dead in the Senate. It's already a foregone conclusion, according to all the reporting on it, that the House has passed this, and the House has gone out of their way to not only legalize it at a federal level, but also to say the war on drugs, not good. Let's get these guys out of jail who are only there for pot
weed, nonviolent weed, offenses. Yeah.
Exactly. So I expected this but I thought we would have to turn more states first.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And I'm very, very happy to be wrong about that because the speed with which this is happening is one of the reasons for hope.
Well, the Democrats, at least, and some Republicans are seeing the writing on the wall.
Yep.
I mean, eventually every state, or at least the majority of the states, are going to legalize it recreationally. And just like with gay marriage, eventually it's either going to go to Congress or go to the Supreme Court, and it's going to be over.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly right. And that's going to dismantle some things. that probably need to be dismantled, I think, at this point, and maybe modify some things at the federal level once we do finally get it passed at the federal level. So it's obviously coming. And who was it? Kasich? Who was it who got on board with got on a board of directors of a pot company?
Oh, it was
Who was
Boehner,
that?
John Boehner.
Boehner, that's right.
Yeah.
Former Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Yeah, John
Super
Boehner,
Republican,
right?
yeah.
Super Republican guy. He's now on the board of directors of a pot company, and he's like, on
This
the
shit's
hill
great.
stumping for pot, right? So there are reasons this is happening, and those reasons have to do with
a lot of money in it.
Yeah, exactly. Little green things.
Yeah.
Whether it's
green makes green.
That's right. Green makes green. There we go. The planet's going green. Didn't you hear? And law of improbability, I get the concern about it because this is still something that does need to be researched very intensively. And by the way, legalizing it might help in that effort because I happen to have heard from little birdies years ago that the Fed was involved in pot research, but they had to keep it on the DL because of the laws on the books about all of this. So if we can get that opened up, get funding going, get real research going across the country on this stuff, we're going to see an exponential increase in the information and practical usability of these substances. And I think that is definitely called for at this point because I am not a medical marijuana user. You are.
Yeah.
And it's helpful.
Yeah.
Definitely
helps de-stress me.
Exactly. But I would never in a million years sit here on a microphone in a public forum and say everyone should be doing it.
Right.
Because that's not true. There's plenty of people who should not be doing it.
Or have reactions to it that aren't so good.
That's right. And you got to really watch out on this topic for the quack bait. There, I used it in a sentence. Because there's a lot of it out there. This is something where you really do, if you're really serious about wanting to know about THC and cannabis and cannabinoids and all of that kind of stuff, this is where you do need to do a little bit of independent research and you need to dive into some of the studies because the headlines are deceptive on this stuff. Especially around marijuana. There's a lot of deceptive and just ridiculous headlines out there about that. Yes, the Green Party. That's right. A whole new way to think of the Green Party. I love it.
Yep. And what Bee's Nest saying there is like, yeah, that's true. Portugal's the one that decriminalized everything. And drug addiction went down.
Yep.
Overdoses went down.
Yeah, that's right. So there we go. So it's I'm not sure if this person who's saying the first sensible thing you've said tonight is referring to me or somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad I got one sensible thing in if it's me. But yes, it is. There's Robert Roberts. Okay, good. We can really begin in earnest now. So anyway, yes, I'm very excited about that because I do think that there are, I happen to believe personally, and this is just faith-based, but I believe that that there's a lot of good that could come from a wider distribution and use of pot.
Well, I mean, and CBD. I mean, unfortunately, my stepmom can no longer do it because of her other drugs that she's on for having the stroke. But like, she has arthritis, and she was putting CBD oil lotion on her, and it really helped out. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that that come from that plant that you can do. They help kids with their seizures and stuff like that, and
exactly,
so much good that can come from it too.
That's right. Remember all those kids who had anti-seizure meds weren't working,
right? But they started taking weed, and they were fine.
There we go. But they were having to do it undercover in states where it was not legal,
right? And their parents have to go do illegal things to get their kids the only medicine that works for them and stuff. Exactly.
Okay, good. Now that was in reference to Bee's Nest. That sensible comment. Cool. All right. So, psilocybin has been used to help those in end-stage cancer. We also have studies coming out, starting. And one study isn't anything, guys, okay?
Right.
Let's remember that. But we have studies definitely plural at this point, about how anxiety and depression have also been treated with psilocybin and other psychedelics. And what's that other one? DMC?
Oh, DMT.
DMT, yeah. That these have had positive effects in controlled clinical studies on depression and anxiety. So that's hopeful news. In that direction. So, I don't want to just run with all the good news and say there isn't a bad side to this, or there isn't, reasons to be concerned. Of course, we always have unintended consequences, and we have things we don't look at. But
like with the psilocybin and other hallucinogenics, like the DMT is like, they're doing it in a controlled experiment where there's doctors around, there's people to help you and walk you through the trip and make sure you're okay. It's not like going and buying some shrooms from your dealer and then getting high where you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Well, and that's exactly the thing. When you have a legalization, then you have regulation. And I am fine with regulating this stuff. I'm not some freak girl.
I'm fine with putting an age limit on it and stuff like that. And
exactly. Okay. Another thing I thought you guys might be amused by, and doesn't necessarily fit under reasons for hope, but we will get back to some other reasons for hope in a minute. But I wanted to share this with you guys because I was amused by it. It's local Denver news. This headline grabbed my attention for obvious reasons. How to build a cult following for your small Denver bakery. So this week, apparently, there have been a couple of bakeries that are really taking off here in Denver, to the point where people are standing in line for an hour or longer before these places even open in order to get the goods on the bakery. And honestly, this one bakery called Good Bread Bake Shop looks like it's only open on the weekends, and they look like they have some hella good bakery items there. So they've got, so it might be good reason to have people hyping out on this stuff. But this is the first article I've ever read where I found out what a cruffin and a cronut are. A croissant muffin and a croissant donut are called a cruffin and a cronut, respectively. There. So what happened to...
Did you press something?
I might have pressed something. There we are, back again. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so anyway, cult bakeries popping up here in Denver. So, and I laughed about it only because I actually did a little test. I Googled Denver bakery, and then I Googled Denver cult bakery. Different list comes up. So Google is in on this. They understand what's going on. All right. And getting back to our reasons for hope, I looked up a couple articles to see what was what with some things. And there are some reasons, there are some things going on in the big wide world you guys might not be thinking about every day or looking at or know about that are kind of positive signs for what could be our future outlook. One of them is that, and this is actually a hopeful thing. Now this, I'm first opening up here, the WWE or WWF. What is this? This is the world. This is not the wrestling guys.
WWF, I think.
WWF. Okay, so this is the panda people. This is the world.
The world.
What is WWF? How am I so out of it that I cannot remember?
It's an animal foundation.
World Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, there we go.
World Wildlife Federation. I did remember it. I didn't read it. Anyway. They have an article out, and one of the points was public demand is rising. And it might sound like and seem like protests and people getting out and expressing themselves here or in other parts of the world is a bad sign, is a sign of social unrest or civil unrest or something like that. But actually, it's a positive when people are out protesting and speaking out and making their voices heard. And I think we should, maybe look at it that way. I haven't always looked at it that way, but I can see how it could be a pro and I could see how, depending on the context, of course, you can see it a couple different ways. But It's an inspiring movement. It's true. You know, there's been a lot of public activity. Prior to 2020, there was, you know, things were ramping up. 2020 hit us, and we still were out there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know that that was such a great idea, but I've been shouted down over that, so I just keep my mouth shut about my ideas about that. But this was actually something I did not know about that I thought was good. 1 million seagrass seeds are being planted to help fight the climate crisis. From seagrass to tree planting, nature is a vital ally in the fight against the climate crisis. Seagrass captures carbon up to 35 times faster than tropical rainforests. And even though it only covers 0.2% of the seafloor, it absorbs 10% of the ocean's carbon each year, making it an incredible tool in the fight against climate change. So working together with Sky Ocean Rescue, 1 million seagrass seeds have been collected this summer from various sites around the country by a team of volunteers. They'll be cultivated before being planted in the Dale Bay in Pembrokeshire this winter. So this is for you UK folks. And they're going to grow millions and millions of them there, like 20,000, anyway, a bunch. Also, the same I can tell you about tree planting and about the fact that our power slowly, but very noticeably now, I don't know, it's kind of crept up on us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have noticed how creeping it's been, but it has really crept up on us now that our planet is going in a green direction.
Yes.
Energy efficient, carbon emissions low, etc. So we are seeing now countries putting out schedules of being completely off of, you know, gas emission vehicles by 2035, 2030. You know, it sounds like a long way away. In some measures, it is a long way away. It sounds like too little, but it's an important part of an overall picture of doing the right thing, and, you know, for the planet and for ourselves, because it's really us that we're concerned about in terms of, like George Carlin says, the planet's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We are.
Exactly.
So
we're the ones in trouble.
Yeah. So
maybe the climate scientists and the people that talk about that need to say that more. You know, not just that it's the Earth, but it's really us.
Exactly. I wish they would. I think it would be. I think it's far better and more accurate positioning.
Mm-hmm.
This whole save the planet thing, I think Carlin nailed it. I really do. That's why I keep saying it. The planet's gonna be fine. The planet has hosted us, has hosted millions of other species,
Yeah,
and
it's
is
had lots of extinctions.
more than happy to extinct us.
Yeah.
Yes, more than happy to watch us go. The planet doesn't care about us at all. It's gonna keep going no matter what we do. We're the ones who need to keep going.
Yeah.
And if we keep screwing around with the resources on this planet the way we have been, science is telling us it's that game has a limited time frame connected to it. So maybe we might want to rethink how we're doing that. And so, again, another piece of hope is our planet is now on a political agenda. It might not be moving fast enough by anybody's metric, but it's there. It's happening. You know, this is a topic of intense and serious conversation now. It is not just a sideline activity or something that people think of after they've gotten all the other agenda items covered. So that's good to know. We got a couple species coming back, Kenyan rhinos, Tanzanian elephants. That's kind of cool. And mountain gorillas as well. So WWF has some good things to hope for. And there's actually even a little bit more. I wanted to read this to you because I thought this was kind of cool. But let me check in and see. Yep, you guys are all on the same page here. Cool. Okay, let me read you guys something because for me, having lived through 2020, like the rest of us, it's been a pretty crazy year. You know?
Mm-hmm.
A little nuts.
Yeah.
A lot of ups and downs. I have had a lot of personal ups and downs this year because of this COVID, because of the staying in orders, the economy, of course, Trump, you know, how I've felt about that guy from day one. Mitch McConnell, our government. I mean, I got kind of pretty heavily embroiled in politics in terms of my attention on that.
Yeah.
And it's just been a bit of a shit year on a number of ways, right? And this kind of got me thinking about it. And this is an article written by Todd Bryson, who's got a blog and positions himself as an optimist who writes. And this is the first time I've seen this guy. But when I was Googling around earlier for stuff, this came up and I thought this was pretty good. He writes, I'm gonna read a bit of what he wrote here. He said, "The news rarely shows messages of hope.
That's true.
But in 2010, it did so by accident. 33 Chilean miners, remember this? 33 Chilean miners were buried underground in a mining accident. Camera crews and journalists flocked to show the tragedy. Imagine how the miners felt. One day they headed to work, thinking of their families and friends, thinking of home. Then a rumble, a shake, a collapse. All hope of a normal life was quickly buried underneath a pile of rubble. These men couldn't see the sun. Food was scarce. Rescue seemed a foolish dream. Despite the despair, the men quickly organized themselves and elected leaders. Supplies were counted and rationed. Someone thought to use electric lights to simulate day and night. That was smart thinking, by the way. They started each day with a prayer. After 2 weeks, the food situation was so grim, each man was only allowed one bite every 3 days.
Wow.
Without hope, these men never make it to the 18th day when a drill pierced a hole in the rocks above them. 18 days. They certainly never make it to the 52nd day when the first of all 33 miners emerged alive. Hope is not a child's plaything. Hope is iron will. It's grit. The psychology of hope is irrefutable. Hopeful people live longer, manage anxiety better, and simply get more done day to day. Hope is the voice that tells you there is a reason to live today. Some years it is more difficult to be hopeful. 2020 is one of those years. Luckily, though, hope is a choice. And 5 reasons that he gave in his blog to be hopeful include that the human body is a virus-killing machine.
Well, for most of us.
Yeah, well, on average, I suppose. What he says here, one particular virus got a lot of attention this year, but you're surrounded by trillions of viruses on you and around you all the time. Despite this, you stay well most days because your body is incredible at fighting illnesses. Now, there might be certain illnesses that it's not so great at.
Right.
Obviously, everybody's unique and different and specific and has their own problems with this.
Right.
But
if you have an autoimmune disease, it's going to be a little harder.
Exactly. But, it's something to have a little bit of hope for some of us. 2021 is not an election year.
Yay!
Also, interestingly, Earth overshoot came a day late. The good news, because of COVID, because of 2020 and what happened with all the reduced activity, the planet actually moved forward on the climate change side of things. Like, things slowed down a little bit. We got a break. Now, obviously, the solution isn't to kill 1 million people or, have pandemics.
No, but like someone was saying in the chat earlier, a lot of that is because people are working from home now.
Exactly.
If we could keep people working from home and not driving to work.
Bingo. And we're hoping that a lot of companies are going to rethink that part of their model after this is over. There's a lot of industries that won't be applicable to, and we understand that. I'm not trying to say everybody should go remote, but where we can, it has been such a boon. It's been incredible having Melissa home working from home. Just for the connection, but also we haven't had gas had to pay gas
As
prices.
much, yeah.
It just saves wear and tear on the car.
Mm-hmm.
We're not putting as much emissions in the air, right? I mean, you drive a Prius, so it's really not that big of a thing, but it's still a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the trick, as Todd says here, for 2020 showed us that we can, in fact, keep Earth healthier. The trick is doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? And that's going to be the challenge for us moving forward. Okay, so those were a couple things he put there. And I don't know. What do you think? Okay, here's a question. What do you think of Extinction Rebellion, a climate group? Sorry, one second. That preaches the end of the world, the impending death of billions, and organizes popular protests, but sounds definitely culty. Well, from what you just described it as, it sounds like what you're describing is a end of the world doomsday cult. I don't want any part of any of that, of course. That's not productive, helpful, or useful in any way to any of us moving forward. We don't need extremist cultic thinking on this. Right. Even if you're on the right side, if you go to the extremist end, it's not so good. It's not good for you. It's not good for people around you. It's not going to help. Fanatics don't help things.
Right.
They classically shoot themselves in the foot or shoot their causes in the foot because of their ignorance or ineptitude, or extremism. So we don't want any of that. Cool. You guys are so awesome.
I like this comment. New product, cannabis toilet paper made to calm your ass down.
Yeah, right? Donna, that's a good question. I'm going to have to look this up. I didn't know that they had lost their charity status. Apparently the Jehovah's Witnesses are losing their charity status in Australia due to the sex child abuse. Well, good. Wow. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because banning these groups is bullshit.
Yeah, it'll
right?
never work.
We don't want any of that. But taking away their privileges.
Yeah.
That we like. Yeah, I'm going to have to check this out about Australia. That is good news. Losing their charity status. Good. That's exactly the kind of thing that we need these groups that we need to have happening to these groups. America is the final frontier on that. If we can start cracking the door here on that, because I think America seems to me, outside of the Middle East, I think, America seems the looniest when it comes to religion. Nobody's really got a hold of it like the Middle East does. I mean, they really take it to the nuts ends. But America's got some really, really goofy, crazy ideas about where the law ends and religious freedom begins.
Right.
I'm not an advocate for no religious freedom or for no freedom of religious practice. I want people to express their religious beliefs as, in a positive, constructive way. But when you can rationalize the levels of abuse and neglect and actual criminal activity from these groups,
right.
Then we're somebody's losing the plot somewhere.
Yeah, especially when it comes to stuff like child abuse, like medical neglect and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's not okay.
Exactly.
You don't get to medically neglect your kid just because you believe something.
Right. Child abuse.
Exactly.
And I think that we're actually, in terms of hope, if anything, we are seeing more case law across more states now, not allowing that kind of bullshit to go on. I mean, this is Dark Ages, 1950s kind of thinking, right? It's the evangelical, my faith will heal my child nonsense. It's culty as hell, right? Because it's destructive to the well-being of the children involved. Medicine might not have a solution for them, and there's certainly nothing wrong with praying, but this business of denying medical care because of religious belief, no. I don't think that's what we need to be doing at all. I think that the past years have exposed the need for us to stop fighting each other in an us against them mentality, and maybe now we can take steps to work together more. What do you think? I am a hopeless optimist in that regard, and I 100% back up what you're saying. While the cynic in me and the student of human nature in me says, I hope. I hope.
Yeah.
You know.
I hope, but not sure.
Yeah. I think that there are certain arenas where we're starting to learn some lessons that might have some lasting value, and that we might be able to pass, that the kids might be picking up on and rolling with. And this is in the sphere of human rights, of freedom of belief, of freedom of practice and stuff. I'm encouraged by a lot of what I'm seeing out of the, I guess I get to say young folks now. It's still weird talking about younger generations that way, but that's what I sort of see there. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Well, was there? Yes, there was one other thing I had as a point of hope, which was also a plug. This is a non-paid sponsor plug. This is not a sponsor. Sorry, not a sponsor plug. But one thing I did want to let you guys know about is a group here in Denver that is very special to me, because it was literally the first place I went when I got here to Denver, and it's called the Secular Hub, and it is an atheist, secular, humanist group, umbrella group that allows for meetings of the minds of critics, skeptics, atheists, etc., humanists, all those groups. They have a weekly AA meeting for secular people. Freedom from Religion Foundation would meet there. Recovering from Religion would meet there. A lot of social activities around helping people, not just a social club. And they are now, they lost the building this year, and because of COVID stuff. And so they are looking for new quarters. They are doing a GoFundMe, and I'm putting the link to the GoFundMe in the notes section of this video, and I will throw it in the comments section. There it is. There's the GoFundMe for a building fund for the hub. And the hub is not just special as a meeting place, there it is, but it's also where I met my wife. So its existence is important to me.
Yes.
So if you guys want to check out that GoFundMe that I just posted in the comments there, or in the description section of this video for those of you who are watching it not live, then you can contribute to that if you would so desire and are able to do so. Of course, we are also open for patronage here on this channel.
Yes.
Through my Patreon channel, which is in the description section below, patreon.com/Chris Shelton. And of course, if you want to support the show through PayPal, you can do that as well. Link also below in the description to this and every video I post. So that all being said, do I consider Mormonism to be a cult? Yes, I do. There are cult aspects, destructive cult aspects to the LDS Church and its practices, specifically around the interviews of young children, minor children, by unlicensed adults who are religiously asking them sharp and pointed questions. These are non-family members asking kids about their masturbatory and sexual practices as young as 10 years old.
Creepy.
Completely not okay. Completely unacceptable behavior. Creepy as hell, rationalized up one side and down the other. It's not acceptable, and it's not cool that they're doing that. It's an indication of the invasive elements of Mormonism, and that there's a beautiful veneer to the Mormon Church. It's got beautiful architecture, beautiful choral arrangements, very nice buildings, very nice city planning, and there's a lot of good things that go on with community and Mormonism. So it's not like it's all bad. It's not the same as Scientology. It's different. It's not as destructive a cult as Scientology is, but they still are doing stuff that isn't cool, and there's still groupthink, in-out group, right? Us versus them. I mean, that stuff exists in that group, and that's above and beyond any of the belief set, which is kind of nuts, but different matter entirely. So hope that answers that question. And and last one from Scientology. What new and exciting experiences are you looking forward to in the coming year that will be something you've never done before? Getting a master's degree. That'll be the big thing. Possibly speaking in the UK. There may be a speaking opportunity that I'll get in the UK this next year. So I'm hoping that happens. I am arranging to do an online presentation for the ICSA, the International Occultic Studies Association conference. It'll be an online conference, I think in June. So that's kind of coming up. I've spoken in person, but I've never done an online presentation like that before. So that'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And let's see, anything else new and exciting for this new year? No, I think that's
about it. Yeah.
I think those are the new and exciting things.
Yeah. I don't have any major plans really.
Yeah, not of that nature.
Yeah.
Should we maybe at the beginning of the year, I might as well put it out here right now. At the beginning of the year, I alluded to a secret announcement that would be coming this year. And then COVID happened.
Yep. It changed everything.
It changed everything. And one of the things that it changed for us, and I don't really see any reason not to share this with you guys. If I go over to the UK, I will definitely be calling Pete Griffiths. Yes, definitely. Dude, get down here. We got to talk. We were going to actually move internationally.
Yeah.
We were, and this is not still off the books, off the table forever, but COVID threw a total monkey wrench in all of our plans for this year. And I wasn't going to be doing this university thing this year. We were actually going to be moving to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And we had it all set up. And there's a very long process. It was very involved, which is why we took a year to plan it and make it happen. And at the beginning of I think December or January last year, I said we're going to have this big announcement, and I'm going to tell you guys. And everybody thought you were pregnant, and that wasn't what it was. And
that's not happening.
And and I kept my mouth shut because I wanted to firm up the plans. I did not want to announce this and have it not happen, right? Because I already feel bad enough about that stupid metering video. So I didn't say anything about this, but this is what we were totally planning on doing. I mean, all the wheels were in motion to make that happen. And then COVID happened. And so right now, of course, even if we wanted to, we wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah.
So our plans kind of got awry there, and it had nothing to do. I thought everybody was the timing of it was gonna be perfect if Trump was reelected.
Yeah.
Because you're leaving the country because of Trump, and no, that's not why. But that was a thing that we were totally planning on doing. I was absolutely going to continue doing this channel. I did not have this show going at the beginning of the year. I wasn't planning on doing a call-in show. This idea sprung up during the year because of COVID. It was one of the reasons the show happened. So a lot of changes this year in Shelton Land that because of COVID. And I'll say that I'm happier with the result of this year personally in terms of getting into this master's program because, as I've said, COVID is what enabled me to do it. They weren't going to offer it online this year. And so, you'd have to go to the UK to do it. But because of COVID, I get to do this degree. And after the degree is over, we will reconsider our position and what we want to do.
Yeah.
That's right. Because we are, even if it was just an adventure of a year or two, or it was a permanent thing, we're not really sure.
Yeah. Just wanted to kind of check it out, see what it's like to live in another country, get some benefits that we can't get here.
Yeah. There were other reasons that I'm not going to get into right now as to why that would have been a good thing to do. Spain, because of the healthcare, the cost of living, the relative ease of learning Spanish versus, say, Japanese, and because we have friends there.
Yes.
So I actually have friends in lots of places, but there's friends that you interact with, and then there's friends who are real friends, and we definitely have very real friends there.
Yes.
And so we were making arrangements with that. So that's about as much as I'm willing to talk about on it, but I thought you guys might be interested to know that, because that was one of the things that I promised I would say something about. Now it's the end of the year, and I'm like, oh, I should, anyway. So yeah, there are a lot of UK expats there. We actually went pretty deep dive. I mean, we went to Spain, and we spent a week in Barcelona, which is where we were going to go. But yeah, we got on the Facebook groups, expat groups. We were looking up all that stuff. We were figuring out cost of living, and of course, the food there is just amazing.
Oh my God.
I mean, everywhere. The grocery store. When we went there, we didn't go there totally as tourists.
Right.
We didn't talk about this at all. But when we were there, we were scoping the place out to live there. We were looking at the grocery stores. We were going to the little shops. We were going around as though this is where we were going to live, not hanging out in all the tourist areas.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. It was a fun trip. It was very interesting. So. Anyway, yeah, so we'll see what happens. Spain, maybe a different country. I mean, there are other places we're very interested in.
Yeah.
I personally, high on my list is UK, not London. Germany, Spain. I think we might have been looking a little bit at Austria. Well, I think we looked at something there, but
we looked at Prague.
Yes.
Yeah, Czech Republic.
Yes.
But
that didn't pan out.
Looked a little expensive.
Yeah, not quite what we were looking for, but yeah.
Beautiful place, but it looked expensive.
Yeah. And Italy, we were not super
expensive,
interested in Italy either. It was a little bit too expensive, and I just didn't feel that was a fit for us. But anyway, yeah, there you go. So thanks for all the comments, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so we went a little over. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you very much. Oh, God, Australia would have been awesome as well, but too expensive.
Yeah.
And us getting in there to live, damn near impossible.
Yep.
The path to citizenship for Australia is an expensive and difficult one. So that's why we skipped that one. Okay, guys. So we will see you next week. Watch for the podcast coming tomorrow. It will be interesting. It's called, I'll tease you with the title. It is called Lies Your Psychologist Told You. Think you guys will enjoy this one. All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Let's wrap it.